My name is Laurel Whitmore, and this is the story of how I learned what family really means. I live in Burlington, Vermont, in a small blue house that faces Lake Champlain. It's not much to look at from the outside: chipped white railings, a crooked porch light, and a front door that sticks when it rains, but it's mine. Inside, every corner smells faintly of lavender and paper because I work part-time at the town library and can never resist bringing old books home. My 6-year-old daughter, Rose, loves it here. She laughs with her whole face and always manages to turn the quietest moments into sunshine. When she sleeps, she keeps her palms open, as if she's holding light itself. Last spring, the light almost went out. It started with a fever that wouldn't fade, then bruises that bloomed like dark violets on her legs. After weeks of hospital visits and restless nights, we finally got the diagnosis. The doctors in Denver, Colorado, told me that Rose needed urgent surgery. They explained the procedure carefully, every risk, every possibility, and then the cost. $80,000. The number sat between us like a wall. I remember gripping my tote bag so tightly my knuckles ached. I had savings, of course, but not even close to that amount. My insurance would cover part of it, but not nearly enough. The doctor, a kind man named Dr. Preston Hale, spoke softly when he said, "You should reach out to your family, Ms. Whitmore. Most people don't get through something like this alone." So I did what any mother would do. I called my parents, Elaine and Victor Whitmore, and then my brother, Julian. I thought they would rush to help. I thought blood still meant something. Days passed before they responded. I remember sitting at the kitchen table, the window open to the cool Vermont air, staring at my silent phone. When it finally rang, I snatched it up so fast I nearly dropped it. My mother's voice came through, calm, polished, like she was discussing the weather. "Laurel, we've talked it over," she said. "We can't just hand out that kind of money. It's too much." "Too much?" I asked. "It's my daughter's life."
There was a pause, a soft sigh.
"You have to understand, dear. We're preparing for Julian's wedding. It's going to be quite the event. We've already spoken to the planners in Santa Fe. Everything's been booked for months." I couldn't breathe for a moment. "You're saying you can't help because of a wedding?" "Well," my father added, his voice gruff and final, "you can always have another child. But this wedding, it's once in a lifetime." That was the moment I realized something fundamental had cracked between us. My mother's tone, my father's cold practicality, it all told me exactly where I stood in their world. I swallowed the hurt and said quietly, "You'll regret this after just a month." Then I hung up. 2 months later, they spent $320,000 on that once-in-a-lifetime wedding. I didn't go, though I saw the photos later. Julian and his bride, Madeline, smiling under a crystal tent filled with white orchids. A jazz band played beneath chandeliers that looked like raindrops. Every guest wore designer suits and gowns. The articles in the local paper called it the Whitmore event of the year. I watched it all from a borrowed laptop while Rose lay asleep beside me, her small hand resting on my arm. I wasn't angry, not yet. Anger requires energy, and I was running on coffee and fear. I just felt hollow. When the doctors told me the surgery couldn't wait, I sold my car. I took extra shifts shelving books at the library, sometimes until midnight. I opened a small GoFundMe page, though it felt like begging. Friends from college sent what they could, $20 here, $50 there. A stranger from Savannah, Georgia, sent $200 with a note that read, "For Rose. Keep fighting." It was never enough. Then one afternoon, when I was sitting outside the hospital cafeteria in Boston, a woman approached me. She looked about 60, with a kind face and silver hair tucked neatly behind her ears. "Are you Laurel Whitmore?" she asked. "Yes." She smiled softly. "I'm Fiona Brooks, your grandmother's attorney." "My grandmother?" I repeated. "She passed away years ago." "She did," Fiona said. "But before she did, she left something for you. She wanted you to have it when you turned 30. I've been trying to reach you." She handed me an envelope. Inside was a letter written in my grandmother's elegant handwriting and a copy of a property deed for the house my parents were living in. "My dearest Laurel, if you're reading this, life has tested you. as it does everyone worth knowing. I have seen how your parents treat you, polite neglect dressed as refinement. I cannot change their hearts, but I can protect yours. The house in Rochester is yours, legally and rightfully. They may live there only as long as they honor you in good faith. Should they ever fail you, take what is yours without guilt. Love, always, Grandma Margaret. I read the letter 3 times before I understood it. My grandmother, Margaret Doyle, had seen the truth long before I did. She had known my parents' loyalty was conditional, bound to appearances and comfort. She had seen me, really seen me, when no one else had. That night, I sat by Rose's bed in the children's ward. The machines beeped steadily beside her, and for the first time in weeks, I let myself breathe. "We'll be okay, sweetheart," I whispered. "Grandma's still looking out for us." I didn't tell my parents immediately. I wanted to focus on Rose's surgery, which, by some miracle, we managed to schedule with help from donations, loans, and what little I could scrape together. When she finally came out of that operating room, pale but breathing, alive, I knew no price could ever measure that moment, and yet, my parents' words still echoed, "You can birth another child." I wondered how people could spend hundreds of thousands on flowers and music while their granddaughter lay fighting for her life. I wondered if money could twist love that far out of shape. The following month, just as I'd warned them, they began to regret it, though not in the way they expected. I received a frantic voicemail from my father one morning. "Laurel, call us immediately. There's been some confusion with the property taxes, something about ownership records." Then another from my mother, her voice trembling. "Your grandmother's lawyer contacted us. Please, sweetheart, can we talk?" I didn't answer. Not yet. I watched Rose color a picture of our house, all blue and crooked, with a sun bigger than the roof. She handed it to me proudly.
"This is home, Mommy," she said.
"Yes, baby," I whispered. "This is home." In that moment, I realized I didn't need their money or their approval. I had something better: truth, love, and the quiet strength my grandmother left me. The storm was only beginning, but for the first time, I wasn't afraid. That was the price of a life. Not $80,000, not even $320,000, but everything false and fragile I had to lose before I could finally see what was real. When I think back to that time, the first thing I remember isn't the money or the documents. It's the quiet. The kind of quiet that follows you after you've been running for too long. After Rose's surgery in Boston, we returned home to Vermont, where spring was breaking through the frost. The trees outside the window were budding again, the same as they had the year before, but everything inside me had changed. The doctors said Rose was healing well. She was eating again, laughing again. Every time she smiled, I felt like I'd been given my life back. Yet, even as I made pancakes and cleaned her crayons off the kitchen wall, something lingered in the air, a kind of unfinished story, one that circled back to my parents and the strange envelope from Fiona Brooks, my grandmother's lawyer. I hadn't yet told my parents what I knew. I was trying to decide what to do. For years, I'd believed the house on Hawthorne Lane in Rochester, New York, the big white house with black shutters and a lilac tree in the yard, belonged to them. It was where I grew up, where every memory of my childhood lived. Now I knew that house wasn't theirs at all. It was mine. My grandmother, Margaret Doyle, had left it to me when she passed away. She'd drawn up the will years ago, naming me as the heir and quietly instructing Fiona to hold the documents until I turned 30. There was a clause, too, one that said my parents' right to stay in that house would remain only as long as they showed me consistent, good faith support in times of need. Fiona had read that part twice, her eyes steady. "They've failed that condition, Laurel," she'd said. "Legally, they have no claim." At the time, I could barely process it. It sounded cruel, almost theatrical. But my grandmother wasn't a cruel woman. She'd just seen things more clearly than the rest of us. I remembered how she'd once said, "Love without respect is only decoration." Back then, I thought it was just one of her poetic sayings. Now it felt like prophecy. About a month after Julian's wedding, the phone calls started. At first, I ignored them. My father called twice one morning. My mother left a voicemail in the afternoon. "Laurel, please call us back. It's urgent." The next day, there were 5 missed calls. Then 7. By the end of the week, they were messaging me from different numbers. I listened to the first voicemail after Rose fell asleep. My mother's voice trembled in a way I'd never heard before. "Sweetheart, it seems there's been a misunderstanding with Grandma's estate. The lawyer, Fiona, she's saying some nonsense about ownership. We need to talk immediately." Ownership. There it was. The word that had changed everything. The next day, I got an email from Fiona. She'd spoken with my parents' attorney, who had just learned the truth. The property on Hawthorne Lane was already in my name. My parents had been unknowingly living in my house for 2 years. Their lawyer wanted to discuss potential settlement terms. Fiona's response had been simple. "There is nothing to settle." I drove down to Rochester a few days later. It was early May, and the lilac tree in the front yard was in full bloom. The air smelled like old summers and childhood. I parked across the street and sat there for a long time, watching the light fall across the porch. My mother was in the garden, kneeling beside the flower beds, her hair tied in a silk scarf. My father was on the porch with a newspaper. It looked like any other day, peaceful, ordinary, but beneath that peace, a storm was waiting. When I finally walked up the driveway, my father looked up in surprise. "Laurel," he said, folding the paper. "We were just talking about you." I handed him a folder. The deed, the will, and Fiona's letter. He read the first page, his expression tightening. My mother came closer, her hands covered in soil. "What's this?" she asked. "It's Grandma's will," I said. "She left the house to me." My father's face went pale. "That's absurd. We've lived here for decades." "Yes," I said, "under a clause that required you to help me in times of need. When I asked for help with Rose's surgery, you turned me away." My mother's mouth opened, then closed again. For once, she had no ready excuse. I went on, the words trembling but clear. "She gave you a choice, and you failed it. Grandma didn't just give me this house out of favoritism. She knew you might do something like this someday." My father took off his glasses and rubbed his temples. "You don't understand what you're doing, Laurel. This is your family's home." "No," I said softly. "It's my home now." There was a long silence. I could hear the wind moving through the lilacs, the faint sound of a lawnmower down the street. My mother finally spoke, her voice cracking. "You can't possibly mean to put us out. Where will we go?" I wanted to feel pity, but the image of Rose lying in that hospital bed burned behind my eyes. "You had no pity for me," I said. "I begged you for help. You told me to have another child." My father's jaw tightened. "We made a mistake." "No," I said. "You made a choice." I turned to leave, but my mother grabbed my sleeve.
"Laurel, please."
"We'll make it right. We'll give you the money. We can fix this." I pulled my arm away gently. It's not about the money anymore. When I got back to my car, I sat there for a long time, shaking. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel powerful. I felt tired in a way that seeps into your bones. I'd done what I had to do, but it didn't feel like victory. It felt like closing a door that would never open again. That night, back in Vermont, I tucked Rose into bed and sat by the window watching the rain start to fall. My phone buzzed again. Another call from my parents. I let it ring. Then another from Julian. I ignored that too. They'd spent years choosing appearances over people, pride over love. Now they were learning what that cost. I thought about Grandma Margaret and her lilac-scented kitchen, her soft hands, her quiet strength. She'd always known this day would come. She used to tell me, "The truth doesn't need noise, Laurel. It stands on its own." Outside, the rain grew heavier, blurring the lights along the street. I closed my eyes and whispered, "Thank you, Grandma." For the first time in a long while, I felt safe. The storm could rage all it wanted. I had already found my shelter. And somewhere deep inside, I knew this was only the beginning. The next chapter wouldn't be about survival anymore. It would be about standing up, about reclaiming what was mine, not just the house, but the peace my family had stolen long ago. I met Fiona Brooks again on a gray morning in Providence, Rhode Island. her office tucked between an old coffee shop and a florist that smelled faintly of damp roses. The room was quiet, lined with books that had been opened too many times, their spines faded but sturdy, just like Fiona herself. She greeted me with that calm lawyer's voice that never rose, never faltered. "Laurel," she said, "your grandmother recorded the deed years ago. The transfer went into effect upon her passing. Your parents' occupancy depended on their conduct toward you. It's all perfectly legal." I nodded, but my hands wouldn't stop trembling. She slid a folder toward me, her manicured fingers tapping the corner of it. "You should read these carefully." Inside, there were copies of everything. The property deed with my name written in bold type, the support clause, and a letter in my grandmother's handwriting, neat, looping, and full of the same warmth I'd grown up with. "Laurel, my girl, I hope you never need this. But if you do, use it to protect your soft heart. Some people mistake kindness for weakness. I have tried to spare you that lesson, but the world insists on teaching it. Love, Grandma Margaret." I held the letter like it might disappear. Fiona watched me quietly, then said, "You have every right to enforce this, but I want to make sure you understand what it means. Once you act, there's no turning back. They'll have to leave." "I understand," I said, though part of me didn't. Part of me still wanted my mother's hand on my shoulder, my father's voice saying, "We'll fix this." But that hope was a ghost now, and ghosts don't help anyone. That weekend, I packed the car. Rose slept in the back seat, her favorite stuffed bear tucked under her chin. The drive to Rochester, New York, took nearly 7 hours. Every mile felt heavier than the last. The closer we got, the more the memories stirred. The smell of apple pie in the kitchen, my father's laughter, my mother's perfume. But when I parked outside the house, all I saw was a facade built on lies. The house looked smaller than I remembered. The paint on the shutters was peeling, and the porch light flickered weakly. I stood there for a full minute before walking up the path. When I knocked, I heard movement, then the familiar sound of my father's footsteps. He opened the door and froze. "Laurel," he said, frowning. "What are you doing here?" My mother appeared behind him, her expression tense, her pearls perfectly in place. "You look tired," she said, her tone halfway between concern and criticism. "I came to talk," I said, holding up the folder. They led me into the living room, the same one where we'd celebrated birthdays and Christmases. It smelled of lemon polish and old regret. My mother sat on the edge of a sofa while my father crossed his arms, already bracing for battle. "This is the deed," I said, opening the folder. "The house belongs to me now. Grandma's will was clear. You were allowed to stay only if you supported me in good faith." My father's face turned the color of paper. "That's ridiculous," he said. "We've lived here our whole lives." "Yes," I said, "and when I asked you for help to save Rose, you refused. You told me to birth another child. That violates the clause." Fiona confirmed it. My mother reached for her pearls as if they might steady her. "Laurel, we were under pressure, financially, emotionally, Julian's wedding." I cut her off gently, but firmly. "You spent $320,000 on a wedding and couldn't spare $80,000 for your granddaughter's life. That's not pressure, Mother. That's priority." They both fell silent. My father finally muttered, "What do you expect us to do? Leave?" "Yes," I said. "You have 30 days to move out." The words sounded calm, even cold, but inside I was shaking. I wasn't doing this for revenge. I was doing it to close a wound that had been bleeding for years. My mother started to cry softly, the way she used to when she didn't get her way as a child. My father's jaw tightened, his pride too big to let him beg. "You can't do this to family," he said. I looked him in the eye. "I'm not doing this to family. You did this to me." They tried everything after that, bargaining, guilt, money. My father offered to wire me $10,000 the next morning, another $15,000 by next week. My mother promised to transfer part of her jewelry collection to me. "You can sell it," she said, her voice trembling. "It'll help with Rose's bills." "It's too late," I told them. "It's not about money anymore. It's about what you chose to value." When I turned to leave, My mother grabbed my sleeve. "Laurel, please," she whispered. "We made a mistake." I pulled away gently. "Yes," I said. "You did." Driving back to Vermont that night, I kept glancing at Rose in the rearview mirror. She was fast asleep, her face soft and peaceful. I thought about what I'd done, about the storm I'd just set loose. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel like the daughter begging for love. I felt like a woman protecting her child. Over the next few weeks, the calls didn't stop. My parents tried everything, voicemails full of apologies, letters in careful handwriting, even messages through Julian. He called one afternoon from Chicago, where he was on his honeymoon part 2. His voice was as smooth as ever. "Laurel, come on," he said. "They're miserable. You can't just throw them out like that." "I didn't throw them out," I said. "They threw themselves out when they turned their backs on us." He sighed. "You're being dramatic. They're our parents." "They're your parents," I said. "Mine died the day they chose a wedding over a child's life." There was a long silence before he hung up. I didn't hear from him again. As the 30 days passed, I kept expecting a fight, a lawsuit, an argument, something. But none came. Fiona later told me that my parents' lawyer advised them to comply quietly. "It's ironclad," she said. "Your grandmother was meticulous." On the 30th day, I received an envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside was a single key, the house key from Hawthorne Lane, and a note in my father's handwriting. "We've moved. Take care of yourself, Laurel." I stared at it for a long time. No apology, no warmth, just surrender. That night, after putting Rose to bed, I stood by the window with the key in my hand. The moonlight hit the metal, turning it silver and cold. It wasn't just a key to a house. It was the key to freedom from guilt, from silence, from the kind of love that always came with a price tag. For years, I had believed my parents' approval was something I needed to earn. Now I realized it was something I never needed at all. The house on Hawthorne Lane was mine in name, but more than that, I had reclaimed something far greater: my dignity, my boundaries, and the right to protect what mattered most. And as I locked the door that night, I whispered a quiet promise to the woman who had seen it all before I did. "Thank you, Grandma." I used it to protect my soft heart. Chapter 4. A different kind of home. They moved out in 26 days. I didn't go back until the house was empty. I didn't want to see the boxes, the arguments, or the echoes of what used to be home. When I finally returned to Hawthorne Lane, the air felt heavy, like the house itself was holding its breath. I walked through each room quietly. The kitchen where I'd once made pancakes, the hallway where my father's laughter used to fill the air, and realized that all those memories now belonged to someone else. I didn't feel triumph. I felt relief. Pure, quiet relief. My grandmother's lawyer, Fiona Brooks, helped me handle the sale. The house sold faster than I expected, to a teacher named Nora Parker and her husband, David, who taught history at a local college. They weren't rich, but they loved the place instantly. When Nora came to sign the final papers, she smiled and said, "This house feels like it's been waiting for a family that actually cares." I nodded. That's exactly what it needs. The sale brought in $540,000. I paid off every medical bill from Boston General Hospital, the ones that had once kept me up at night. I put $120,000 in a trust for Rose, to grow until she turned 18. I sent $25,000 to the children's ward that had treated her, the same ward where a nurse once held my hand and said, "You'll see, she's strong." Then I did something for myself. I bought a modest townhouse in Portland, Maine, with a view of the ocean and a porch just big enough for 2 chairs. Our new house wasn't grand. No marble, no chandeliers. Just sunlight spilling through the windows and enough room for laughter. The first night we slept there, Rose woke up around midnight and crawled into my bed. "This house feels warm," she whispered. I smiled into the dark. That's because it's full of love, not money. People still talk about what happened in Rochester. They always do. Some say I was cruel to my parents, that I should have forgiven them. Others call me brave for standing my ground. I've learned that truth doesn't need an audience. It doesn't shout. It just stands quietly in the light. I used to believe wealth and love were intertwined, that expensive things proved affection. My parents lived by that belief. To them, love looked like diamonds, five-star dinners, and grand weddings. But love, I've learned, is shown in the smallest sacrifices, in being there when it's hard, in giving without counting. My parents chose image over empathy. I chose my daughter over pride. Some nights, when Rose is asleep, I sit by the window and think about them. The anger is gone. What's left is something quieter, understanding, maybe even pity. They'll never know what real love feels like, the kind that doesn't have a price tag. I don't hate them anymore, but I don't miss them either. Every Sunday, Rose and I walk to the sea. The ocean is different every time, sometimes calm and blue, sometimes wild and gray, but it always feels honest. We throw pebbles, build little sand castles, and talk about Grandma Margaret. I tell Rose how she used to bake cookies that could cure sadness, how she believed courage wasn't loud, it was steady. Rose listens carefully, eyes wide. "Did she love you very much?" she asks. I smile. Enough to protect me even after she was gone. Sometimes, when the wind shifts, I think of that night in Santa Fe, my mother's voice still echoing. "You can birth another child." And my own reply, "You'll regret this after a month." I didn't say it out of spite. I said it because I knew one day they'd realize love can't be postponed. Money can be replaced. People can't. 2 years have passed since then. Rose is 8 now, healthy and full of life. She draws pictures of houses, always with big suns and open doors. She laughs easily, sleeps soundly, and talks to her plants like they're friends. Our home smells of cinnamon, crayons, and peace. I don't need anything more. Every spring, I plant lilacs by the porch, just like the ones that grew outside my grandmother's window. When they bloom, the air fills with that soft, sweet scent of memory and forgiveness. I stand there sometimes, coffee in hand, watching the flowers sway, and I know she'd be proud. I am Laurel Whitmore, and this is America, the land that can break you and rebuild you if you let it. The land where I learned that sometimes the only way to honor love is to draw a line and start again. If there's one thing this journey taught me, it's that peace is not given. It's built, plank by plank, truth by truth. And the sweetest revenge is not payback. It's peace.